Right guys, I'm back in France. There's not been much to report classic car wise. But then, in a car park in the small town of Montrichard, we find these beauties. And there are some real crackers, so let's go and have a look. First up, an absolutely stunning traction. Superb condition, big boot. Absolutely beautiful. Fully restored, interior's been done. Stunning. Next to which, we have an old favourite, our Diane, which appears to have a France 3 2CV roof grafted on. But again, very, very clean. And then some modern thing. Don't know what that is, Porsche of some sort. In a very early CX. It's a CX20 Palace. And that rear screen, I think if you look at the top, you can see how it dips in the middle inwards, concave, which makes it self-clearing. There's no need for a rear windscreen wiper. As soon as you start moving, all the water just runs to the bottom. Simple and effective. Then a Renault 12 in a very fetching light green. A few more marks on this one, a few bits of spots of rust bottom of the sills and things, but still remarkable condition. You won't find these in the UK in any sort of decent condition anymore, sadly. And if you could, I'd have one. And then next to that, a Pagoda Mercedes convertible. Beautiful leather interior, and in the Renault, a beautiful plastic interior. And behind us, a piece of real class on the move. In a couple of Corvettes. The left-hand one's being slightly older than the one on the right, probably by a decade or so. Behind which is a green, metallic green DS. And another traction with a complete chrome grille in white, no doubt being used as a wedding car. Then coming in, we've got another DS, followed by a Mini, and this DS is a convertible. Pure class. Hugely expensive. Right, the DS is parked up, so let's have a closer look. Now, these are fakes. I don't know whether this is original or fake, I've no idea, but people do make copies of these because of the huge expense of buying an original one. So it looks right to me, but I'm certainly not an expert. But anyway, let's look at some of the details of this beauty. The indicators built into the very top of the rear wings by the hood, very stylish. The back end is noticeably DS. The hood is quite upright, two-door, so there's plenty of room, plenty of headroom in the rear. The interior is standard. Fabulous early dash. Red leather interior. Just absolutely beautiful motor car. Now here's one you've probably not seen before. It's a Sauvan 1300. And these are sort of kit cars, basically. Sort of mini Marcos. Think of a mini Marcos, but French. And they're built on Renault 4 chassis, which are chopped down, shortened, and then reinforced. And then they bung in a Renault Gordini engine, 1300 in this case. Now this thing weighs about 800 kilograms. It's got about 110 brake horsepower. So you can imagine, absolute beast. The glass is weird as well. The side windows are curved in the door, sliding. And then the front windscreen is from a Renault 4E, but mounted upside down. So on the 4E, what's where the bottom is of the windscreen wipers will be at the top. So it gives a very sloping and aggressive stance. Very, very rare car. Very fast car. And the front end has a hint of the DB panards about it. Not something you see very often. Two double choke carbs. And then because I've never ever afforded a DS, let's go look at something a bit more affordable. I have had two DSs, but I couldn't afford one now. So first up, Simca 1301, sitting on alloys. These were available in the UK. Good cars, good solid family cars, but rust and I seem to remember camshaft problems, but that might be a false memory. But more importantly, sitting next to it is an earlier Simca, which I really like. I don't remember seeing one in the UK, I'm sure there are some, but I don't remember seeing any. Simca Arund. Again, just a family car, but has that 50s, early 60s style. See if we can get a look inside. Yeah, look at that steering wheel. Absolutely fabulous. For a family car, really, really stylish. And the front end styling, sort of Zephyr, Mark III Zephyr-ish, I don't know. Similar sort of style, but anyway. A beautiful car, in pretty good nick. I'd have one. Next to our Merc, which we've seen already, has turned up 16. Now these are superb cars. I suppose you could argue that it's Renault's attempt to catch up with the DS, because they were fast, comfortable, stylish, and sadly rotted, which is a shame because the concept, the engine, all the rest of it were absolutely brilliant. I would have one of these in a heartbeat. In fact, when I was a young man, I used to work with a young woman who had one of these. It had been her grandfather's car, and she knew I tinkered with cars. And there was a small, when you open the rear door, there's a small amount of rust just in the front of the pillar there. Even back then, it wouldn't have cost more than 20 quid to fix. And she came in the following week, and I said, did she want the car welding? And she said she scrapped it. And it was probably in this sort of condition. Yeah, probably in this sort of condition. Just with one small piece of rock. What a waste. Anyway, Renault 16 TS. Superb cars. If you got one and want to sell me it, let me know. Now, I won't pronounce what this car is, because the English way of saying it is actually a very rude word in French. So it's a P-A-N-H-A-R-D. You all know how it's pronounced, but apparently if you don't say it right, it's a rude word. Anyway, it is obviously museum quality, this one. Absolutely immaculate in every respect. It is rightly the star of the show, and it's very difficult to get any shots without there being lots of people in the way. Very stylish wooden dash. Right, back at the Panhard, the crowds have moved on slightly. So it's a 1926. Huge drum brakes, you don't see them in the middle of the cartwheel. I would imagine most of the lights were added later because we didn't even need stop lights in France for a very long time, until the 50s for sure. You just needed a rear position light, so imagine they're all non-standard. The brakes are cable, or rods and cable. So I'm away from the crowd so I can mispronounce to my heart's content. We have we call the Panhard, a 24. I think it's a CT, I'll check at the back. Flat twin, air cooled. I used to have a PL17 Tiger at one time. Fast, comfortable, very, very stylish. And you can see what I mean about the front end styling, very similar to the little kit car we saw earlier. Similar. Beautiful blue interior. Again, I'm sorry about the sunshine. Sporty dash, loads of dials, upright steering wheel really. Yeah, it's a C2, that's right. 1964. 850. So really not that much bigger than 2CV, but these are fast. Matra Simca Bagheera, fiberglass body. And the strange thing about these is despite being fiberglass, it's still rotted like mad because of the steel centre section. Is 3 seats, and they're all across the front. Let's see if we can get a picture. There you are, 3 single seats across the car. And then sneaked in next to it, another Matra. Now, I'll have to go look at the badge because for the life of me I can't remember the number. It's like a 530 or something, but I can't remember. Really weird styling, very peculiar lines. Really would have stood out in the time, 60s, would have really stood out on the road, this. Let's have a look at the back. Yep, it's a 530. Another traction, again beautiful condition, in black again, with the chrome, all chrome grille. So it should have the 6-cylinder engine in it. You don't think of the Renault 4 as being a particularly big car, at least I don't, being a 2CV competitor. But I just noticed it parked next to the Mini. And the difference in size is really quite remarkable. Oh well, cars for the masses from 2 different countries. An AMI 8 saloon in ivory. My first car was an AMI 8 in petrol blue, which got hammered all over the country for about 4 years before I sold it on. It did a huge mileage. Really comfy. Mine wasn't rotten at that time either. I did a small patch on the sill for 1 MOT, that was it. The rest of it was sound as a pound. Really, really good cars, but still in the shadow of the 2CV. And the 6 we saw leaving earlier has come back. He's probably just been out for some bread. Got the oblong headlights, red interior, bent seats. Slightly tattier than most of the cars here. There's a bit of corrosion going on there in the scuttle. And the roof where they rot above the doors has been repaired and painted. But still very, very nice. I'd still have it. Back wings going at the top. And those rear lights. Peugeot 403. Very solid family car from the late 50s into the early 60s, I believe. It's strange that even when surrounded by exotica, and there are lots of exotic cars here, I'm always drawn to the ordinary saloons, the family type saloons that an ordinary person would have had. I really don't care about Porsches and things. Strange, but there you go. The SM is a V6, but it doesn't operate like normal V6s because it's basically a V8, a Maserati V8 with 2 cylinders hacked off. So it runs as 2 3s, if you get what I mean, 2 banks of 3. So there are 2 coils, 1 for each bank. There's 1 distributor, but the rotor arm is double tracked, and the cap are double tracked. So it distributes sparks to each of the 3 banks. It's a very unusual setup. And the other thing is, a battery, because I had to change one once, it's tucked away inside the front wing, on this side if I remember rightly, tucked away inside the front wing, and you've got to exhaust the steering power before we can get it out or take the wheel off. Because the self-centering keeps working even when the engine's turned off until it is exhausted, till the power is exhausted, the reservoir is exhausted. So to get at the little flap that holds the battery, you've got to make sure the power's all gone and then turn the wheel and then pull the battery out. Funny what you remember, isn't it? E-Type Jag, 1968, 4.2. Must have been an expensive purchase here in France. Whoever owned it also looked after it, or fully restored it, whichever. Well, things are thinning out. It's lunchtime. People are starting to head off for the lunch. It won't be anything here this afternoon. It's a morning only gathering. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little walk round a local French classic car meet. And I suppose I've got to choose the car I like the best. I can't say all the French ones, and some of the Italians, a couple of the Americans. So I've got to narrow it down. So I think the Sauvan, just because it's so unusual. Mind you, that means I've got to leave behind the Panhard 24s, and the Tractions, and the DSs. Oh dear. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.